top signs you might be a dark empath.
The reason behind your stoic energy and you being so close to your shadow
What's up,
is
guys?
because you are a dark empath.
Zang here with you, with Against the Grain and Zang Nation.
You yourself with the dark sides of your shadow in order to maintain the survival of your being. This is why you are perceived as very closed off, because you maintain a spiritual distance when interacting with people on an emotional level. You understand the...
Yeah, so, how's everybody doing? I am going to attempt to put this podcast on Spotify for podcasters. I've been doing podcasts again for about a week now. I have not been on the Spotify platform as I used to be with Against the Grain. I had to do some stuff to try to finagle how to do it now because there's been some changes. So I've been on Spreaker, and on the Spreaker platform, you know, I did what I usually do, talk sports and politics and stuff like that. But I mentioned on those podcasts on Spreaker that a lot of things have changed since I last podcasted last year. Some of those things are, one, I am now in Ashland, Kentucky, broadcasting. Two, I am now a minister. I can perform weddings and vow renewals and religious services. And three, I am honoris causa Dr. J. Zang, a.k.a. Jason Zagatti. Honoris causa, metaphysics, psychology, etc., etc., etc. And speaking of psychology, the last thing I mentioned on the Spreaker platform was that I was going to do a podcast on dark psychology. And why not? Because, you know, against the grain, we like to go against the grain. And there's a lot of people doing psychology podcasts. I figured we get into dark psychology. Join the dark side. Yeah. But, there's a lot of reasons for it. Mainly to educate and help try to safeguard people from getting caught up in the web of people that are dark empaths, that are practicing dark psychology. A lot of people do it without even knowing it. It just is what it is. There's narcissists out there. There's dark empaths out there. There's stuff you got to be careful for.
Dark empath. 12 signs of the most dangerous personality. A dark empath is an intelligent narcissist with empathy, intuition, and sensitivity. They know how to keep you in control in any situation and use you for their own gains. They are experts at reading others and understanding their needs and using that information to get what they want. Although they can be malicious, a dark empath can have and exhibit heightened sensitivity. This is one of the most common dark empath signs. Due to their highly sensitive nature, they can easily understand your thoughts and emotions, even if they are unable to feel them.
That's a very apt description. But we're going to go beyond that. We're going to dive a little bit deeper. So without further ado, let's go back before Jesus was born. Let's go to ancient Egypt around 1550 BC. There was a medical papyrus from ancient Egypt that dated around that time, 1550 before Christ. It's one of the oldest and most highly important medical papyri of Egypt. It contained medical remedies involving medical cannabis marijuana way back then. It even mentioned thought disorders akin to depression and other psychological problems. It was discovered by a man named Ebers, a German Egyptologist. It was bought by him. He purchased it. And in the mid to late 1800s, he took it to Germany with him. In that book, it talked about the torture people endured for being depressed and bipolar and schizophrenic. Now, they called it therapy, but the therapy of the day was insane. You know, you suffer depression, you're going to be waterboarded. You're schizophrenic, you're going to be chained up by all of your limbs, and we're going to pull them. We're going to pull these chains. We're almost going to tear them off. That was their means of trying to heal them. Psychopaths were considered possessed by demons. They were given exorcisms by the priests or the religious practitioners and leaders of the day. If these exorcisms didn't work, they were put to death. This horrible treatment might have something to do with the generations who've survived this, learning how to deal with their problems through manipulation as a means to survival. For example, no, I don't have to be waterboarded no more, Doc. I'm healed. I'm completely healed. I have no more demonic thoughts. I'm not psycho anymore. I'm doing great. Your therapy worked. Thank you so much, Doc. You can let me out of here now. I will continue to lead a law-abiding life as never before. If you let me out, thank you so much. Well, they got so good at that through the years, through their techniques evolving and getting better through time, as happens with evolution. And here you go, the groundwork for the Dark Triad. The Dark Triad, as I talked about in my Spreaker podcast, is a triangle of narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Machiavellianism being the term coined after Niccolo Machiavelli, the Italian politician who used power and used propaganda and used all kinds of dark means to achieve what he wanted. And a lot of politicians are still obviously doing that today, which is why you can't trust them. But anyway, that's the Dark Triad. And I mentioned that on the last podcast. But there's also a Dark Tetrad, a four-piece. It has the same narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and also sadism. Now, the benefits of knowing about this stuff, and the benefits of knowing dark psychology is increased awareness and understanding of human nature and behavior, especially the darker, hidden, or ignored aspects that a lot of people don't talk about. Another benefit is the improved ability to defend and detect manipulation, coercion, or deception. You, even if you aren't practicing it, and even if you're not doing it on someone, knowing about it enhances your skills in domains that require dark insight, like law enforcement, security guard work, educating others in it, kind of like I'm trying to do now. And knowing about dark psychology benefits us to help us understand why people do the things they do. Now, there's some bad, obviously, with practicing and understanding, delving into dark psychology. It can erode trust in relationships, especially if you're doing gaslighting and you're lying and you're manipulating. It can also impair rationality and decision-making. People that are exposed to the dark arts of propaganda, persuasion, and misinformation, they can be swayed by fear-mongering, emotional appeal, and this results in guilt, bad choices, regret.
Along with the theorists whose
Also, practitioners of dark psychology, they can increase their aggression and violence, increase their lack of empathy, lack of conscience, lack of remorse. People like this will view others as objects or tools for their own gain. Entitlement, superiority can ensue, justification, feeling justified for harming others, and that can lead to more aggression. So the cycle continues. The violence gets worse, and even murder, homicide. So protect yourself from it. Choose your friends wisely. Be assertive. Be confident. Be not afraid to completely walk away. And while we're talking about these things, don't forget to balance yourself. Every negative has a positive. Every dark has a light. So study positive psychology, well-being, mindfulness, resilience, altruism, life meaning, social good. Get into some of that. And importantly, avoid toxicity. Now, there's dark patterns involved in dark psychology. Dark patterns is a term that was coined by a man named Harry Brignall. And the dark patterns explains patterns that urge or persuade the user to perform actions or accept conditions that they didn't need to. A lot of businesses and companies use that tactic quite often. There's a dark art of psychology known as privacy zuckering. Zuckering. I bet you know where that comes from. That was named after Mark Zuckerberg, of course, Facebook, Meta. Privacy zuckering is a dark practice of tricking people, like he does on Facebook, into sharing more information that they intended to. That's privacy zuckering. Now, in psychology, the three hardest types of psychology to study, the hardest courses are, number one, the top of the list. The top of the list is advanced statistical methods, the mathematical backbone of all things psychology. And number two is neuropsychology, focusing on the brain's biological processes and their impact on cognition and behavior. Number three is lifespan psychology. The reason that's so difficult is because it covers such a wide range of developmental theories that start way before birth. And they go on through birth, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, geriatric times, till death. A person's entire lifespan. That's what makes it so difficult. And I'm just going to stop here because I have a person who has psychology as a major right here in this house. And I want to remind you of something. You've passed lifespan psychology already. Okay? That's one of the toughest psychology courses you can take. That's definitely in the top 5 all day. Number one is, of course, the statistics, and I've warned you about that a couple times. No fun. Not at all. But anyway, you've passed one of the toughest, and so you're freaking out about your GPA. You've got one of the toughies out of the way already. You're about to be a sophomore. You'll be halfway there to that bachelor's at this time next year, and a year's going to go by pretty quick. So don't give up. Don't freak out. Don't trip about your GPA. You're doing all right. All right, now, as I was saying, advanced statistical methods, neuropsychology, lifespan psychology, among the toughest. Dark psychology could be rated up there due to its dangerous nature. However, it's viewed as a theoretical science instead of a practical one, which is weird because the theoretical practices would be pure psychology, whereas applied psychology is practical. And I personally hold that dark psychology is both pure and applied. So perhaps The real reason is because of the 8 main types of psychology. Out of them, dark psychology is viewed as a 9th because it takes tenets from various parts of psychology and puts it into one. Many people even consider it pop psychology. There's a bunch of popular books that have surfaced over the last 20-25 years, including Dark Psychology by William Cooper, Dark Psychology by Jonathan Mind, Dark Psychology 101 by Michael Pace, Power by Robert Greene. It's the study of the human condition in relation to the psychological nature of the different kinds of people who prey on others. There's even a Dark Psychology 202, which offers, and that's by Michael Pace also, and that offers even more advanced secrets of mind control. It also offers dark cognitive, the dark CBT, and seduction. So, there's a lot out there. There's a lot out there in this growing, ever-changing, ever-becoming more popular field. That is our dive into it. I have to keep it at that because, well, I ran out of time on the allotted time I'm able to podcast on here. So that was a lot to talk about, and hopefully you gained some knowledge. Hopefully you enjoyed everything that I put up in here. Hopefully you did. And maybe we'll talk more about it later, or maybe we'll delve into some other stuff. Religion. I'd love to do some religion. Philosophy. I'd love to do some philosophy. I purposely did not look up any sports today because I did not want to get off topic and start talking about sports. So I'm proud of myself for doing that. Anyway, now that I've made this podcast and it took me 2 different segments to do, I am going to figure out how to post it on Spotify for podcasters now and get it out there so everybody can listen to it. Again, hopefully you enjoyed it, and I will be back soon. We'll talk again. Until then, take care, stay safe, and God bless.